Countryside Health class number 15, and we're discussing the topic of seizures. I have seen many cases of seizures throughout the world as I go from country to country doing medical evangelism. There is a lot of unknowns when you're out in the jungle and you don't have a good workup possibility. So in those times I pray so much and ask God, what can I be doing even if we don't know the cause of the seizure? So before I begin the lesson for today, I am kneeling and asking God to bless in this topic. He is the healer, and we can look to Him for what we need. Let us pray. My Father, I ask that you will be with us while we do this health message, and that I will only speak your words, anoint my lips with your fire from altar of incense in heaven, and may I only speak the truth and have the clearest understanding. May we all understand what you have shared through the testimonies. In Jesus' precious name, amen. So we're looking at seizures. Unfortunately for some, there is no known cure for their diagnosis. Some just have one seizure in their whole life, and it comes along with some traumatic event, some high fever, some infection, some poisoning. Though these common causes below can trigger a seizure instantly or days and months or years later. Number one, and there are more than these listed, a brain infection. Number two, head trauma, car accident, or violence, being whopped on the head with a cooking pot or a baseball bat, and surviving but having epilepsy. And we just don't know all the causes. Signs and symptoms of seizure: confusion, kind of an aura, might be hearing a ringing or smelling something strange before it comes. I had a dog that when the neighbor was taking care of him, he always seemed to know when her husband was about to have a seizure. The dog sensed probably the aura that her husband was experiencing before his seizure. He was a NASA scientist, and then he got a brain tumor and was unable to continue at a very young age. Uncontrollable jerking movements can happen. Strange sensations and emotions can happen. A loss of consciousness or awareness of things going on. The eyes can be open and have rapid eye movement, and the eyes could be rolled upward. There's a lot of signs. It's a erratic, unorganized firing of the nervous system in the brain, the cells, and they check it in the diagnosis. One of the valuable tools is the EEG, and they do other testing. That's not the point of this lecture. The neurologist is the one to do the workup on seizures. I am a general practice physician, family medicine, and I always refer to a neurologist when I have these cases in USA. But when I'm out in the jungle, I have no one to refer to, and I recommend they go and find a neurologist, and they look at me like maybe 10 hours, 20 hours away. But they need to check the electrical activity of the brain and decipher what is causing The tonic-clonic seizures involve so many of the body muscles that the whole body is involved, and then afterwards there's foaming at the mouth and they go to sleep. It's really a sad thing. I've seen them waiting in clinic all day without any water or food, hoping to see me, and I did not know. They're just real quiet about their situation because people in the lineup think that he's filled with demons. They don't understand, and they're not even allowed to go to school. It's just a real sad situation. There's two major groups in the seizures. They're divided in two major groups. This is very simple. Generalized seizures and focal seizures, depending on whether they start in the brain, where they start in the brain. And the focal seizures, also called focal, begin in one area of the brain but can become generalized and spread to other areas of the brain. For seizures of all kinds, the most common treatment is medication. The doctor may also recommend diet therapy, nerve stimulation, or surgery, depending on the seizures that are characteristic. And I've seen their long list: low input, no noise, low light, and things that seem to trigger. They're removed from the environment. They're given soft padding places. Well, in the jungle, these people fall into fires and they get burned. They're unconscious. So sad. A focal seizure can be either simple or complex, based on seizure description. Physicians may be able to identify in which part of the brain the seizures are originating. Simple, also known as auras, occur in one area on one side of the brain, but may spread from there. The person does not lose consciousness during a simple focal seizure. Physicians typically break some simple focal seizures down into 4, depending on the location of the brain and the parts of the body affected. For example, 1, motor. A simple focal seizure with motor symptoms will affect muscle activity, causing a jerking movement of a foot, the face, an arm, or another part of the body. Physicians can diagnose which side of the brain is affected by observing which side of the body experiences symptoms. Since the left brain controls the right side of the body and the right controls the left. And there can be simple ringing and odor. Those are common. And there may be a hearing problem, hallucination, or some distortion of what they're hearing. An autonomic seizure could involve the heart rhythm, the blood pressure, accidental losing of the waste material, soiling the clothes with urine and stool. And then there's a psychic seizure. Some simple focal seizures strike parts of the brain that trigger emotions or memories of previous experiences, causing feelings of fear, anxiety, deja vu, like, oh, I've been through this before. And there are things that can trigger these: light, flashing lights. Many people are not aware that they are sensitive to flickering lights or to certain kinds of patterns until they have a seizure. Then they can take note in their journal and stay away from that kind of flickering light. They may never go on to develop epilepsy with spontaneous seizures. They could only have seizures triggered by light conditions. Complex focal seizures are often preceded by focal seizures are patients experiencing a complex focal seizure may stare blankly into space. Have you seen people do that? You talk to them and they don't seem to notice you're there. They're just staring. I've seen people do that. And I've wondered about them if they were having a seizure. And then they'll see these strange eye movements, eyelids going like that. It even might be caused by a medicine that they are on. Or they may have this strange appearance of their mouth smacking lips, or the blinking or grunting or gulping or shouting. Some people, you have a hard time deciding if they are doing a violent act or if they're really having a seizure when they go into a rage. Because they're growling and they're roaring and they're bizarre. I want to look at another list I have. I'm going to increase the size so I can see this. Well, I think I am. There. That didn't help me any. I move this over so I can see my notes.
Need some help?
Yeah, I do. I don't have the whole thing on the picture here.
Okay.
And it just flipped to another thing. So, seizures. And just bring down the size just enough so I can still read it, but see it on the screen. There is an unorganized firing of the nervous system, and there's out of control behavior, and the brain is not, I can't read the notes. That whole gray area. Thank you. That helps a little bit. There's still some.
Oh, it's 200%.
The condition is a result of many different causes. It could be from an injury at birth, as prolonged labor and low oxygen. Thank you. It can be a result of an infection noted with a high fever. It can be a result of malaria. Now, we don't have much malaria here in USA, but we sure have seen a lot of it in other countries. And it's a very sad thing. It's a damage done by malaria, and there's a permanent situation. And it can be a result of meningitis injury or a current infection of meningitis. Now, when it's an infection, there is cure for some of the infections. I don't know if the coronavirus is going to come up with, we're too early to know if it will have some side effects of seizures. We don't know yet. There are other problems being noted, like blood clots, heart problems, kidney problems for the survivors of the coronavirus. If you're unable to get medication, there are some things you can do to reduce the severity of your seizures. Now, in USA, most are able to get the medicine for seizures and maintain the right level by the blood testing. But in the countries where some are watching this program, there isn't always that available. You can shorten the length even of each seizure, how long it lasts. You can also decrease the frequency of episodes by what I'm going to tell you. This is the good news. This all depends on the original cause, of course. If you increase your body weight, there are other things you have to consider. There could be even a brain tumor. It can be a result of the disease of HIV, AIDS. You can have seizures from AIDS. It's called AIDS encephalopathy, and a raging kind of seizure occurs. Sudden onset is a cause for examination at the hospital. Eating meat increases your risk of having seizures because infections from animals, you don't know the overall health of that animal as he was being transported to market and in what situation he was murdered, killed to be made for the meat table. You don't know if he was really angry. There's a lot of hormones that are rushing through the animal when he realizes he's a victim. So if you're on a plant-based diet, your control of epilepsy is at a better chance. And make sure you have a neurologist following and prescribing medicine and checking the levels, and especially on children, very carefully the first month. You must use common sense and delete all items that cause nervous excitement. And the following recommendations are not a cure. These help to strengthen the body and decrease the number of episodes and the length of each episode. If you're driving a car, the licensing place doesn't want you to keep on driving after you've had a seizure. You may have to wait many months and prove that it's not going to happen again somehow. Make sure to begin sleeping with an empty stomach, with 2 hours after eating before sleeping, and you will have a deeper sleep. You need that, especially with a problem of seizures, the disorganized electrical impulses going in all directions. You need to think of all the health message that we've presented this far and apply it for this. Make sure you start your sleeping around 9:30 or earlier. This is the body's time, the best time, of making a hormone called melatonin. This hormone affects the body in so many ways. No matter what habits a person has, there is a body rhythm, which causes hormones to be made at certain times. For optimal performance, you take your sleep at 9:30 and get the most melatonin, and it will have a settling effect on the nervous system. It is made in great amounts from 9:30 to midnight. And you need it very quiet and totally dark with no security lights, nothing, no lights blinking from the computer, no night lights, everything totally dark. Water intake is very important. It helps this hormone production. It helps in many other body functions. Be sure to drink 8 to 10 cups a day. Bathe in warm water morning and evening. That is very good for the nervous system, if it's possible. This removes the toxins excreted from the little windows, the pores on the skin, daily, and has a soothing effect on the nerves. Stress. This can increase the number of seizures. High stress, worried about an examination, or getting away from a violent person, having to find a shelter because you've been beaten up, that is high stress. This can increase the number of seizures. Do all possible to relieve that stress. Examination times in school. Prepare early. Trust in God. Don't worry about it. Worrying about finances can also cause seizure. Avoid and delete all items that I'm going to tell you about. that are dangerous for your health. Alcohol, coffee, tea, green leaf, black leaf tea, chocolate, caffeine, all the dangers in chocolate, hot pepper, cinnamon, cloves, spices. These are not good for the nervous system. Avoid using all animal products, meat, milk, cheese, eggs. Be careful to learn how to eat a balanced diet. Don't just delete everything and not eat. God wants you to eat well and in a good balance. And we've been, in the 15 lessons up to now, we've been stressing what that good diet is. There's beans, brown rice, vegetables, and fruits that really help those who have seizures. Going to point number 8. Here's some things that you can eat that will really help you a lot. Eat these fats. Don't delete these fats. Eat these fats. Avocado, chia seeds, 2 spoons a day, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, olive oil. And if you're in USA, you can get olives in the market. And the best ones are the green, Lindsay green. No fermenting of these olives. If you cannot find those, you will use olive oil and think of it as a medicine, even if it costs more. Research shows that these easily digested fats in these foods will help in nerve health. Eat these foods with whole wheat bread, whole grain rice. All the B vitamins are there for decreasing stress. Millet, beans, lentils, peas, the vitamin B6, and all of these helps make the hormone melatonin in the body. You can eat the fruit persimmon. It is full of rich vitamin A. That's a fat-soluble vitamin. Do not use any more white sugar in the tea, and don't drink the tea. But you can have a clover tops, the flower, dried flower clover tea, and the peppermint leaves tea. It's common in Africa to want to drink tea, but don't use the black tea, the red tea, the green tea. It's very harmful for the nervous system. I've seen so many cases. Delete sugar totally from your diet. It decreases your fighter cells. Your immune system goes down. And a lot of the side effects of medicines will decrease the immune system. You should check on your label of the medicine that you have to take for seizures and see if any side effects has to do with decreasing the immune system. Then you go to all the things that can boost the immune system and increase those, such as lots of fresh air, sunlight, and forest bathing. Go for walks in the forest. The aroma of the fir, the pine, and the cedar have health in them.
Question, 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of chia?
2 tablespoons. Now this is pine needle branches, and just to emphasize and underline and highlight what I just said about forest bathing, as you walk through a forest with these trees, in the air that you are breathing is many different chemicals that God has put in the air to help you, and it increases your immune system and your fighter cell ability. Research has just been done and published, and it's good to know for the COVID virus, for being strong against the virus. A walk in the woods of at least a mile in the morning and a mile in the evening is a great therapy for your immune system. So if you have seizures, also this is a very important thing. It will also decrease your stress. And when they checked this, they noticed that in a 3-day trial in Japan, where the guys went into the woods, they stayed overnight in a hotel where it was in the forest. And so they had 2 night stays and 3 days of walking in the forest. They measured their blood sample every morning at 8 in the morning, so there's no interference with circadian rhythm in the changes of the blood values. Then, after they went home, they were checked again on day 7 to see if the levels had dropped considerably, and they checked again at day 30, and they were still elevated. So if you picked one day in 7 that you went forest bathing, or even 3 days out of 7, you could do this. Even if you don't have time, you could do it once a month when we can go camping again in the woods, or if you live in the woods. This is a great thing to do for your seizure control and for immunity, boosting your immunity against the COVID-19 virus. So the white sugar is killing the fighter cells, and the walk in the forest is raising the ability of your white count to be fighting well. You can eat dried apricots and find in the testimonies that it helps the nervous system. And I'm going to go down here to okay, those are my sources, and child guidance, and chia seeds have a high amount of omega-3. Now I'm going to some more notes that I have. That's actually sort of a summary, and a little more on infections. When I was in Mexico, I found a lot of cases of tetanus. In the year my husband and I were there working on a volunteer basis as 4th year nursing students. They called us doctors, but we sure felt inadequate. We prayed so much. A person came in, 2-year-old came in. The parents brought him in the final stages. He was having seizures. It was the opistotnic contractions that happen when the tetanus victim is in the final stages. I prayed. I was impressed to do the charcoal bathing that I had studied about. I didn't know how much to put into the water. I found a little basket of a baby bath place and filled it with warm water and warm water soothes the nerves, so that's why I chose warm. And I put in a whole cup of charcoal from the water purification plant, and we prayed. We held the baby. He kept arching over backwards in his seizures from the tetanus, and it was hard to keep his nose above the water. Finally, we were too tired. The parents were taking turns with me, and I'd go up on the roof to pray and ask God, what else can I do? I just kept doing that round the clock. God gave me strength and energy, and by 2nd or 3rd day, he's having less and less seizures. He survived. He learned to walk again. And all the doctors were amazed. They said this never happened. They'd never seen a recovery like that one. So the next case was a 30-year-old, and we couldn't hold that one in the water. And so we used towels on the bed, covered it with charcoal, warm water, and wrapped the patient in it. And they wanted to give a drink. The family wanted to. I said that's not a good thing, but they forced, in between seizures, they forced the patient to take charcoal water. That one recovered. And the story went on. They were recovering, and that hospital was becoming famous because no one else had recoveries from tetanus like that. So seizures can be from an infection. That's another example. Unnamed infections where you don't know what it is, you can treat them with charcoal, as I just described, not knowing, and have them drink the charcoal water. I've seen about 10 cases turn clear around and totally recover with the use of the charcoal. It could have been an infection, was my suspicion. There's toxins in the environment. There's toxins that people give to poison and kill a relative. It's really awful what's happening in the world today, and nobody believes. In the environment, there can be high mercury, lead, arsenic, uranium, cadmium, or it can be put into their water, into their food from a rat poisoning, etc. You can trust in charcoal as a good remedy. You can also buy organic foods, and you can buy filtered water or make your own filtered water, have your own water filter, as I mentioned in the last time. There's a book by Steve Wohlberg, and it's called Toxic Terrorism. While he was driving along in his rearview mirror, he saw his child in the car seat behind him having his first seizure, and it scared him. And they were trying to put their finger on the cause of it. They said it helped with Dr. Mendel taking hair samples and sending it out. And he was thankful, so thankful to find those elements. He started studying, and he found out that there are amazing things happening in the environment. Maybe it's on this other note thing. Here it is. Industrial toxic wastes are being used in fertilizer on farms. That's page 13 of his little book, Toxic Terrorism by Steve Wohlberg, Wohlberg. Now, these heavy metals can cause tremors, tingling in the mouth, difficulty balancing and walking, dizziness, abdominal pain, seizures, memory loss, unconsciousness. There's a lot of bad things going on. So you can filter your water. You can be careful to get organic raised foods or raise your own in your garden. If you want to strengthen the mind that has been tormented by seizures, nature study can bring a trust and a peace, and it strengthens the mind. It is our duty to go where there's gardens, lakesides, groves of trees, and enjoy a picnic. Adventist Home 501. It's important to get adequate sleep with 48 hours. Sleep deprivation and nutrition and hydration. Decision making is altered, Neil Nedley says. Aromatherapy is important. There's healing in the pine, the cedar, the fir, and other conifers. There's a quotation in Counsels on Health 170. There are life-giving properties in the balsam of the pine, in the fragrance of the cedar and the fir. You should plant more if you have but few trees. A cool, tepid bath is a soother of the nerves. Child Guidance 108. Plenty of water. Light therapy. And did you know that sunlight is good to put your bedding of your blanket, your sheets in the sun, and the sunlight will help in decreasing the microbes that are lurking in the bedroom. If you have fresh air and sunlight in the bedroom, it's safer to sleep there in the night. Ministry of Healing 274. So there's a list of absolutely never use these things, and this has already been mentioned. So it's like a review. Don't eat fruits and vegetables at the same time at the same meal. It causes mental confusion. Yet, if you want a dessert really bad, a half a cup of fruit as a dessert with a vegetable meal is much better than using a sugar containing dessert. Never drink coffee, black, green, or red tea. Don't drink chocolate. It also has the caffeine, decreases your immune system. Don't use cocoa, alcohol, sports, power drinks. Dangerous to the mental health are the fermented items. And so you can have more seizures if you use these things. So don't use them. Pickles, sauerkraut, pickled beets, vinegar, salad dressing. Read the label. You'll see vinegar. Mayonnaise, you'll see vinegar. Ketchup, you'll see vinegar. It's in the label. Mayonnaise, I said that. Never, never, never use cheese. Never use hot pepper. Never use chili, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg. These are all found in Councils on Diets and Foods as an irritant to the nervous system. Never eat too much. It causes mental and nervous problems. Healthful Living, page 166, paragraph 2. And 4 more things. Avoid soda pop and sugary drinks. It directly affects brain studies, and it's shown to decrease the brain size. I don't know how they can measure that when you're living, but they are very skillful in measuring these things with the tools available to modern science. Flesh meats, butter, cheese, rich pastry spice foods, condiments derange the stomach and excite the nerves. So if you're having seizures, don't excite the nerves. Council on Diets and Foods, 368. Milk and sugar together cause fermentation. That means ice cream, doesn't it? Healthful Living. No ice cream. The brain becomes confused. Councils on Diets and Foods 110, paragraph 6, talks about the milk and sugar together. Vinegar leads to fermentation of all that you've eaten at the same time. And then, when it's all fermented, you become confused. That's in 143, page 143, volume 2, MR. No in-between meals. Eat at regular times. That also will help control the seizures. Child Guidance, page 387. I would be interested in your type of seizure that you're troubled with and what you are doing to make it happen less frequently besides the medicine. Thank you for listening. As we close this health program on seizures, I hope that you will meet again with us next Monday at 6 o'clock for another program on your health. Let us pray. My Father in heaven, thank you that you have taken time to share health remedies that will help us through these times on this earth that are so troublesome. Please be with all those suffering from the virus and the grief of losing those precious ones and their families. Give us wisdom and strength how we can help each other in our communities. In Jesus' name, amen. See you next time. Bye.